Welcome to Dr. Krystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. I am your host, Dr. Krystal, a doctor of East Asian medicine and a holistic transformational coach. Here we will shine light on wisdom keepers, paradigm shifters who inspire us to live thriving, joyful lives. Let's be inspired. Although I am a doctor of East Asian medicine, this podcast is for educational and inspirational purposes only. It does not replace professional medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for guidance on your personal health needs. Hello, welcome to the Dr. Krystal podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. I am your host, Dr. Krystal. We are all family here. All are welcome. I hold space for people walking through the fire to get to the other side, knowing that they are not alone. And I am so delighted and excited to introduce to you our special guest, a dear friend of mine. Yael is a Deborah Silverman certified astrologer, a mentor of applied astrology school, and creator of Planetary Balanced Method. She's also an author. Thank you so much for being here, Yael.
Thank you so much for having me, Krystal. I love you so much, and I miss you since you moved away from Asheville, where I met you, right? And your presence is really missed here.
Oh, thank you. So to start, I always ask people, what does sacred mean to you?
Everything, life, right? Like everything is sacred and everything isn't. So it's understanding this dichotomy, right? That
Yeah,
everything is sacred and everything isn't.
so true. I love that. Everybody has their own unique response. So, as you know, this is about sharing that sacred story. So, I'm so curious, what is on your heart to share today?
Yeah, so first of all, as you mentioned, I'm an author. The planetary balance method that you mentioned is basically my book that I'm also teaching. So it is a method I developed, and the thing is that, because I write a weekly blog and I write a book, I shared so many of my hero journey stories, right? Like I talked about my depression that I suffered from, my addictions, my recovery, how I turned my life kind of upside down. I lost my mom when I was very young, and like there was a this traje like the path that led me to really being in the lowest, like hit rock bottom, and then start climbing up. But I've shared all of that, and yesterday you kind of you brought up something that when we worked together and you supported me and helped me so amazingly
Mm,
well. um I was going through, and I never ever spoke about it in public and shared it in such a platform like a podcast, or even Instagram. So I decided that I'm going to talk about it today, and I'm going to open up and talk about something that is actually much more recent and
mm.
not something so much from my past and things, something that I already shared. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, and thank you so much for inspiring me for that. So the story starts September 2023. We just moved to a new house. We just overcame a marital crisis. So my marriage is finally where it needs to be. There is beauty, there is harmony. I love our new house. I am working like really busy. I have lots of clients coming in. I'm writing my book. I am teaching at the school. I'm the happiest I've ever been. And I feel like I'm just on the right track. And then October 7th happens.
Mm,
And I am originally Israeli, I'm Jewish. And like many Jewish people, that was a day of complete crisis. Like, what is going on? Losing my faith in the world, in the goodness of the world, everything that I've believed in until then the world has my back, like the world is here to support me, feeling unsafe, knowing that people hate me, that they want to hurt me, being afraid for my kid, not believing like what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing, the massacre, the Nova Festival, the rape, like how can there be God? How can they be God? And divinity and all these things that I was so connected with, and something so horrific still happens. How can that be?
Mm.
And and the thing is that and then like the October 8th happened, right? And then we find out that not only that the world doesn't stand by us, and so many people who I considered my friends and my community are telling me that that was okay, and that we deserved it, and that should have happened, and that that was a legitimate action of resistance. And I'm like, what, like, and again, I know I'm telling the story of so many Jewish people on that day, and there were movies about it, and I'm not renewing anything here. But what happened to me personally is that I couldn't deal with the pain. The pain was so overwhelming that I got back to a habit that I broke out of, and that was smoking cannabis.
Mm.
And I didn't smoke every day, but I smoked every night.
Mm.
So after a long time, I was addicted to cannabis in my 30s, in my early 30s, and that led me to depression. And then I stopped. And I was very clean for many years when I went with fertility, when I nursed my son. Then I came back to it, and it was just like very occasional, very social, like very moderate, like the way that it's supposed to be as I see it. And then the pain was so overwhelming that I started smoking every day, every night. Not all day. I was very focused a day. I was, like I worked, I continued on my path. I stopped writing my book. I couldn't write my book. I was not inspired at all to write, and I started smoking. And then about a year after, Helene came to Asheville, right?
Right.
And that was a point where it was kind of like, what is going on? Like people in our community died, people lost their homes. Suddenly, like I felt, oh, okay, like Israel is in war, all my people, all my family are suffering. They are in shelters all the time. I hear all their stories. Suddenly it comes to my home, this paradise that I feel like, oh, I ran away. At least, I live in this paradise, and suddenly my paradise is also collapsing. But in some, mysterious way, this has woken me up,
Mm.
because what happened during this year, I thrived professionally. I did Deborah Silverman, my teacher, who is a big deal, one of the biggest astrologers in the world today. And she had me teach a workshop with her on something that I also developed. And that was huge. And at a certain point, I did come back to writing my book. But at that moment, when Helene hit, I realized that a few things, that I was still addicted to cannabis. I was not living my best self. I was not living my book.
Mm.
My book talks about, the first chapter is about sun energy, owning your desires and claiming them, and living your life's purpose. And for a long time I was like, well, I'm Israeli, no one would want to publish my book,
Mm.
right? Like everyone hates Israelis right now. And because it was devastating. Like I got awful responses from people, like I don't even want to mention the horrific comments that I got. And I was like, people hate me right now, so like there is no chance. And then I was like, you know what? This is an excuse. You keep yourself safe. You're afraid to shine your light. You're afraid to come out with your book. And this is kind of your excuse, like no one will. No, you want to write your book, write your book. You haven't finished the book, right? Like you can't say that people, you haven't tried to publish the book. You have to come out of this excuse. That was one thing. The second thing was my moon chapter. My moon chapter speaks about connecting with our emotions, being able to be with the discomfort of being human being. And I was like, you're not doing it. You're smoking weed because you are so uncomfortable. You can't deal with your own pain. You have to come to terms with the fact that this is the pain that you have to withstand, to claim it, to own it, and to not run away from it. Stop escaping that.
Mm.
And these were kind of like happening all together with also, I during this year I gained some weight. I didn't feel like, I was smoking. I didn't feel at my best, right? And I was like, Yael, it's time for you to start being the best version of yourself. I started exercising. I stopped smoking. I decided to be the healthiest I could. I started tracking my sleep. I started like really becoming the best version of myself, because it doesn't depend on, the circumstances can be as chaotic as they will, right? Like I don't have control over the hurricanes. I don't have control over the Middle Eastern crisis, right? Like I can't resolve these issues. But if I let these issues take me away from my destiny, from my soul's promise, from my path, I'm not serving anyone by that. And I'm destroying my life. Right. So I'm always like, no, like this hardship was kind of like it shook me up, but then I had to reclaim everything. And now I'm working on a book proposal.
Mm.
I'm teaching my program. I started teaching planetary balance. And I feel like I'm living my truth. I'm living my dharma.
Oh, I love that. You gave me chills several times, Yael. And your story is phenomenal. Just the fact that you can speak from the perspective of being from Israel and having moved and relocated to the States, trying to start your life and knowing that you had family over there while they're in bomb shelters. And I just I can only imagine the trauma and the shock and the fear that you were experiencing. I mean, I held space for that for you. I tried my best to create that safe space that you could come to and know that you weren't being judged, that you could be free to express how you were feeling and not judged, or um and to leave feeling a little bit safer in your nervous system.
Oh, so
That
much safer. You
like
did such an amazing job supporting
just to
me.
hold that mirror that okay, there's parts of the world, but not the whole world. And then to try to magnify those parts that are safe, right? And I got to witness and watch the trajectory of the devastation, and then I'm okay today. Today's a better day, and then there'd be like this wave of this devastation. And your story, even though it's uniquely yours, other people can relate in a different way to their own sort of shock and trauma. And like with Helene, like I don't know about you, but I fled to Colorado so quickly after. Like I was a refugee in Colorado, and I had so much survivor's guilt
Yeah.
about being here and watching you all, my community, not have clean water, not have electricity. So I'm just imagining that it only touches a little piece of how you may have been feeling, or how sometimes you feel being here while your family has got bomb sirens going off and chaos and,
Yeah.
it,
People lying, like my friends are telling me, like their reality is that sometimes they have to stop driving and take their kids and lie on the road and cover their heads. And people don't understand that. They don't understand that this is the reality. And that was hard. But
mm,
I also, it brought up, I recently read there are two books that I recently read that really inspired me on this path, and one of them was Outlive by Peter Attia, that really encouraged me. Like, part of what I've been working with you was also like the menopause, right? Like entering. I'm still not there. Fortunately, my period doesn't want to leave me. But it's like this time of perimenopause, right? Like that this is why I came to you, like the confusion of like not knowing where I am, and the understanding that I am in my 50s and that this is the time where I really need to invest in my health if I want to live a long life and be healthy in my 90s. Right. So that was really inspiring and gave me a lot of confidence and strength that I need to prioritize my health. And the second one is the comfort crisis.
mm,
And there it also explained to me why, he goes to Alaska, Michael Easter, his name. He goes to Alaska and he lives there for like a few months, and he hunts, and without hot water, without showers, without and then he tells how he came back home and what a joy it was to have running water. Right. And I
mm,
was like, okay, that's the experience because we didn't have the running water. So coming out of our comfort zone forced us to be more grateful to the little things that we take for granted so
mm.
often, and suddenly be so grateful for just having running water. What a big deal, right? With living
Yes.
without it. So like, and I think that's what happened to me during this time, like I think our problem, and I realize that my book is also, it's kind of like the spiritual version of the comfort zone. We are trying to protect ourselves from discomfort. And this is why so many of us, I know, smoking, drinking, all these habits, the reason why we do these things is because we are uncomfortable and we're trying to get comfortable with the human experience.
Mm,
And the power only comes when we're willing to stay in the discomfort. And this is the discomfort about what we want. It is very uncomfortable to want to be successful. It feels not spiritual, right? It
right.
feels like you want recognition. You want to be in New York. Like I say, I want to be a New York Times bestseller. It took me a long time until I could say it because it made me feel uncomfortable. I was raised to be modest, right? I was raised not to be in my ego. All my yoga teachings, right? Like, wanting things like that is bad for you. And that's what I teach people. That's how I show them that they need to own, because I've been wanting to write a book since I was 20, since I was a child, basically. So it's something that has always been in me because that is my soul's promise. I came here to be an author. And if I just let it go, I am not authentic. And then I attract the wrong people and the wrong opportunities into my life. When I'm in my path, when I'm vibrating the sound that I came to make in this world, I attract the most amazing people like
Mm,
you, right? Then the people who are mine to be with, to support my community, my friendships, everything starts coming to you. So that's a very, I think that was stepping out of the comfort zone. I was so comfortable. I felt like I got it, right? And then the world came and it's like, no, you didn't, right? And then I had to reclaim my own again my dreams, my commitment to my dreams, and my desire to live. Because that's, I think that was the part that I really lost. It was the first time after October 7th that I was really depressed again. And I share, in my depression story that happened in like the beginning of my 30s, until mid 30s. I struggled with depression. I really wanted to die, and I had to touch that desire to die in order to reclaim my desire to live. And
Mm.
and that's what happened after October 7th. I lost my desire to live. I didn't want to live again, and I had to reclaim my desire to live and to live fully and to appreciate the gift of every day despite the horrors that are happening in the world.
That's so powerful. That is very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And
Thank
you
you.
said something about that if you, when you vibrate the frequency of the sound of your soul that you came here, then you attract the right people. And I don't, Kathy Heller, have you looked at any of her books? She just published uh, Abundance Ever After or something. I hope I'm saying that the book right. It is so good. And I've been listening to it on Audible. And one of the things she talks about is claiming that you have this frequency, this light, and that within the web of life, you are you are the treasure that the universe seeks.
Exactly. That's the astrological approach that I believe in. Like we're all divine creatures. We each have our unique chart. We each came to vibrate a unique sound. And the yogis call the central channel the Sushumna Nadi. This is the where all our chakras are. And they believe that it vibrates when we say like, oh, I like her vibe, right? Like you like someone's vibe. This is the vibration that people really vibrate something
Mm.
energetic that we get. And sometimes we really feel connected to someone's vibe. So the thing that I found out through my work, and this is what inspired Planetary Balance, is that the more spiritual we are, the more repressed we are in a way. Like people, I call it the spiritual Barbie syndrome. Okay.
Mm.
What happens is that we hear about all these amazing teachers who inspire us and tell us that, we need to think positive think thoughts and we need to have elated emotions and we need to, be content. And then what happens is that people really want to be in this spiritual place and they deny themselves from their honest thoughts, from their honest desires, from their honest feelings. Um, and what happens is that instead of, because for me, I most of my spiritual studies were Buddhism, Vajrayana Buddhism. Okay, so teachers like Pema Chodron and the controversial Chogyam Trungpa. And these were the teachers who inspired me. And the Vajrayana Buddhism approach is that the idea is that we need to be with the discomfort of being human beings instead of trying to aim for like spiritual perfection. We are only by doing that, we're only causing ourselves more misery. And Thich Nhat Hanh also talked about it. By resisting our experience, we cause ourselves more suffering. The idea is that we need, and that's for me to stop smoking weed at nights to feel better. It was like I am willing to face my discomfort. I'm willing to face my hard emotions. I'm not running away from them. I'm willing to face my horrific thoughts and I'm not running away from them. And to make peace. And that's spirituality. That's
Mm,
the spiritual path. It's not about having the perfect thoughts. It's not about having the perfect emotions because that's not possible. It's unrealistic expectations. And there's so many, like, the expectations that we're fully healed, the expectations that we fully love ourselves, right? Like that we'll never have doubt, that we're so confident. And when we expect ourselves these unrealistic things, we only repress ourselves. So that the book talks about the different aspects of ourselves. The sun is our ego, what we want. The moon is our emotional world. Mercury is what we think. Venus is our sensuality, our attraction power, our relationships. Mars is our actions, right? So each planet is part of us. And by balancing this planetary energy and coming to terms with our authenticity, who I am, what do I really want, how do I really feel, what do I think right now, without being afraid of it and leaving that, that's when we start vibrating the
mm,
right sound and attract the right things to us. Because otherwise, if we're repressed, we fake the sound, it's not our true sound. And then we attract the wrong people and circumstances into our lives. And then we're even more frustrated, right?
mm. Right. Oh, I love everything that you said, and if we don't live up to these standards or these spiritual beliefs, perfection, Barbie, then there's shame.
Exactly.
The shame will come in like, oh, I'm a failure. I'm not succeeding at these levels that these teachers are saying I should. And what I like about what you're saying is that, I think it was a Tara, a female Buddha, talks about like feeding the demons and, what do they want? Like actually acknowledging like, oh, I'm feeling this pain inside my body. What does it look like? Give it a shape and then ask it, like, what do you need? And then you're acknowledging it so that it's not in the background hunting you, you know, causing your frequency, your purest sound to not come out clear, right? And I love that you are taking astrology and using it as this tool of empowerment to understand thyself and understand the divine and how we're so connected to the stars. And um, in my Kundalini yoga training, there was a saying that if you vibrate the cosmos will vibrate you. And it was all about
I love it.
sound. Yeah, sound frequency and, rising before sunrise. Of course, there's dogma in that path as well,
Yeah.
um, but there's some beauty in it. And, the Kundalini yoga talks about the 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 dimensions and the sacred geometry of the stars and their angle and their impact on us and certain kriyas would be to align with those alignments and their degrees and so that you can come into harmony. And there was a teaching to just chant so that the chant in these mantras so that that sound frequency would lift you up and the other stuff would fall away. But what was missing is that acknowledgement.
Yeah, yeah, and the what inspired the book was that I started seeing that people would come to me and I would do the same exact work with each one of them. Like it didn't matter, of course, understanding your chart has profound insight in it, right? Like you understand who you are in so many levels. Like you understand that there is a reason for why you are the way you are, right? Like that's the or in tendencies. But I noticed that, you know, 99% of the people who came to me were repressing their emotions or some emotions, right? Like 99% of the people who came to me had an issue admitting what they truly wanted.
Mm.
99% of the people who came to me were dismissing their negative thoughts and were trying to force positive thinking without success. And what happened is that it exhausts you. It exhausts when you continuously fight your innate nature.
Mm.
You want inner peace, but you're creating inner war. And you are so exhausted because you're continuously trying to fake yourself and pretend that you're grateful and you're joyful and you're happy and that everything is fine. And you're not feeling the pain. And that's exhausting.
There's even in East Asian medicine, Chinese medicine, that um, those emotions, if not dealt with, go in and they create low vessels in the body because the emotions are carried in the blood. And then these low vessels will go and they're like, okay, well, he, they cannot deal with this right now. So I'm going to put it over here in the body. And then it can cause varicose veins. It can, it can cause blood issues, blood stagnation. All, painful periods can be connected to that. And so, and it does, it depletes the body because the body physically is trying to take care of that low, giving it energy to keep it repressed, and then it takes away from your vitality and your ability to thrive in the world and feel good.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you're able to deal with that thing that you tucked away, there's treatments that can be done to help soothe the blood, clear the stagnation, clear the heat, clear the dampness, so that, um, that there's that philosophy completely supports, what you're saying for your book. And
Yeah, yeah, and I just had a client who I did some of those this work with her, the emotional work, and I was like, "How are you?" I checked in with her, and how are you feeling? And I know it's very hard to do this work, and she's like, "What's hard is to hold it all the time." She
mm,
realized that, and that's also what I say in the beginning of my book, like, balancing 10 planetary energies is a lot of work. I'm not giving shortcuts. I don't believe in magic wands. I don't believe in just say that, like just lean into love. Just do, like just stay away from fear. I don't believe in that. I believe that creates the problem, right? So I am asking, like, and what I did, right? It was work. It was work to start prioritizing myself, to not be afraid anymore, to not use my being an Israeli as an excuse, to step up and to take the risks and to do the things that I needed to do to get clear from my addictions and to be the best version of myself. And now, I live my dream. I truly live my dream, regardless of what is happening, right? So, it sounds like a lot of work, but when you do this work, things starts working for you too. So you feel like you're not, you live in so much more ease because you're not burdened. It's kind of like, all these things that you don't process, they kind of like hoover over you. And then so many people live with melancholy today.
mm,
So many people live, and I have clients, they come to me, they have beautiful lives. They have the family, they have the job, they have the house, they have everything, and something is missing. There is this feeling of like, I know that there is something better out there for me. Something is missing. I'm not living my soul's promise. And that's when you have to come back to yourself. You have to come back to yourself and start being authentic. What is it that you want? What is it that you feel? What is it that you think? What is it that you love? What brings you joy? And start taking action.
yes, I love that. I love that you had the courage to stop numbing and to turn around and face it and feel it and accept it. You painted this vision of like, these things that we're trying to run from, the discomfort. It's like there's some philosophy that in a nightmare, if you can realize you're dreaming in the nightmare, to turn around and look at the thing chasing you and just turn around and look at it and it dissolves. It shifts, it changes. But when we're running from something and we have this shame and this fear, then we start lying and hiding and covering, and it just gets more and more heavy, more and more thick and mucky. And but to uncover that and to have that courage that even though it's scary, to turn around and face it, you are a walking example of it shifting, and now you're standing in your truth and you're sharing that light, like the light beaming out of your eyes, and the teachings that you're offering. So I just I'm so excited about your book, and I remember when you were sharing with me back then, I was like, I hear a book coming. And that you have an important voice to share from that perspective. And I love that it's also weaving in your wisdom that is uniquely yours. I know Deborah is your main teacher, but now you have created one that is, it's your unique thread of that interpretation. So what's a sacred practice that you would want to share with someone that helped you to turn around and face the things that were so painful?
Okay, I will answer that, but first I do want to say, I want to um, sh express my gratitude to my teacher Deborah because you brought her up here, and that one of the things she's been my guide, my wisdom, my inspiration, and that the beauty about Deborah is that she doesn't expect you to conform. She
Mm.
expects you to be you, right? Like she encourages all of us to be our unique self. So thank you, Deborah, from the bottom of my heart. Um,
And she's here in Boulder, right? Like she's in Colorado.
she's part-time in Boulder and part-time in Hawaii, yes. And
Oh, wow.
she's really phenomenal in the school that is opening in February. If you're listening to that and you're interested, please check it out because it's amazing. A sacred, when you talked about facing, um, one of the things that I love to work with is dreams.
Mm.
And when you talked about that, it was just like what came up for me is that the dreams relate to Pluto energy. I haven't talked about the outer planets, but Pluto energy is our psychology, it's our subconscious. And our subconscious speaks to us in our dreams. We all know that. So for a long time, when I went through, like before my depression, before, like in the end of my 30s, I used to continuously have dreams that I was being chased. And I would continuously run in my dreams, run away from something. I didn't even know what it was. And then I started practicing lucid dreaming when I was 12. And because I had horrific dreams, when I was 12, I had dreams that I'm being raped by a Neanderthal person. Like, and I learned about lucid dreamings and I killed that person in my dreams when I was 12. So I reclaimed my knowledge of lucid dreaming and I decided before I went to sleep, and that's the sacred practice that I offer here. So if you have repeating dreams, because you wake up exhausted, if you run throughout your dreams, if you're constantly running away from something, there is something you're not facing, right? So what you do, and it's true for any type of repeating dreams that you start, you imagine before you go to sleep how you want the dream to unfold.
Mm.
So, for example, for me, I decided that next time I will stop running away, I will turn around and I will face this thing that is chasing me and I will ask it, why? Why are you chasing me? And I did it and the dreams stopped. Just
Amazing.
my willingness to face what was, I don't even know what it was. Probably, it was again my addiction, right? Like the fact that I was addicted. Then I was really addicted. I was smoking all day long, so it was probably that. I didn't understand that then, but my willingness to face it, and maybe probably now I'm just realizing it. Maybe that what brought the depression because the depression forced me to step out of my addiction. and start living my life as I should have. So I was willing, I told the universe, I don't want to run away anymore. I want to face my fears. So if any type of repeating dreams, it's important that it is repeating dreams because we have a lot of junk coming out in our dreams too. But if something is repeating, it means that there is a message there for you. And then whatever it is that is happening to you, usually it's this feeling that you are locked in a place and you constantly need to come out of it, or that you're chasing, or that people don't love you, or things like that that are very strong, imprinted in our childhood psychology, and they keep coming back. It's being willing to face them, imagining the dream. What do I want to happen in the dream? Imagining, it's very important to use your imagination and really see the dream, not just think about it, because the mind, the subconscious speaks in images, not in words. When you imagine this, it it is transformative. It will change your life.
I love this. And I feel like we could just keep talking. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I love how in sync we are. There's so much, we're just totally connected. And when you share, I'm totally following you. And I just love and appreciate you so much and look forward to your book. So, how can people find you? Yeah, what's the best way for people to reach out and find you? You do
Yeah.
readings, you have a Instagram, you have a website, you have.
Yes. So I have the Instagram Yael dot astrology, and I have my website yaelastrology.com. And I'm teaching the planetary balance method in this January. 2026 is a very potent year to create change. We have Saturn and Neptune both in Aries, the sign of new beginnings, your sign, right? Exactly. So it's kind of like a great year to turn on the page and start living your soul's promise, do the actions like I did, so that you can start being the best version of yourself and living up to your dreams. And what you signed, there is a contract you signed, you need to fulfill it. And 2026 would be a great year. So I'm teaching this program, a planetary balance. It's called From Desire to the Life You Love, a planetary journey. And you can find more information about it on my Instagram. So
Thank you. Thank you so much for being here.
thank you. I love you so much. You've been such an amazing support throughout one of my hardest times in life. And I highly recommend anyone who wants to feel supported, especially during perimenopause, menopause, all these shifts that we're going through in these years that are really like, chaotic. You're such a solid support, and such your warmth and your love and compassion and your healing abilities are magical. So
Mm.
anyone who needs support, please, please, please see Dr. Krystal, because she's amazing. And I
Oh,
love you so much, and I'm so grateful for you.
oh, thank you. I love you too. It's an honor. So, thank you for all the listeners who joined Dr. Crystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. Until next time, remember that your healing is sacred and that you're not alone. Thank you for joining me on Dr. Crystal's podcast, Inspiring Sacred Stories. If today's episode lifted you up, I'd love if you shared it with a friend, subscribe, leave a comment. It helps more people discover these stories of light and transformation. And if you'd like to work with me more closely, head over to www.drkrystalkinnunen.com. And as a thank you for listening to the show, you'll receive $20 off your first session. Details are also in the show notes. Remember, in this time of rapid change and transformation, you are not alone. You are part of a greater shift, and your inspired life matters. Until next time, let's be inspired.